To the Most High Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, double honors to the elders and apostles of GMS who rule well. Shalom to the hopeful elect. Shalom Shabbat. So this was breaking news yesterday, and they're basically saying I think they sent 2.3 billion doses to, or 2.3 million. I think it was, but I can't even remember, man. These so many figures going around, but basically they sent either 2.3 million or or I think it was probably 2.3 million doses. No, 2.3 billion. Sorry, doses to Ghana. That's what they're saying. But as I'm looking at this this article, it says Ghana received 600 free vaccine doses as part of the global scheme. Now I'm from this place, and I even spent years growing up here. So as Elder Apostle says, a lot of these West Africans, including Nigerians, are Israelites. Obviously you have tears mingled in, but he is very systematic in how he's approaching this. And we're just gonna read a few points of the article. A flight carrying 600 doses of the AstraZeneca coronavirus VC. Now you realize it's not Moderna or Pfizer. And I'm gonna get another article where it says they're getting you the generic brands. You know what I mean? This is like the off brand. In the UK we have Tesco, we have Marks and Spencer. These are the high end stores, and you have low end stores like Lidl or Aldi. I don't know what the low end stores in probably the low end stores in America is probably Walmart or something below that. The high end stores being Whole Foods, which we know is bullcrap anyway. But basically they're giving them the generic versions. The VC has arrived in Ghana as part of a global effort to immunize the world's poorest people. Now he cares so much about you. Clearly, the delivery comes 8 months after the launch of the COVAX initiative, the World Health Organization WHO sharing scheme, which aimed at ensuring global vaccine equity. The shots will be used to kickstart a VC drive that will prioritize frontline healthers and others at the high risk, according to a plan presented by Ghanaian officials. This is a momentous occasion as the arrival of CVVXs into Ghana is critical in bringing the pandemic to an end. And Claire Dufay of UNICEF and WHO, World Health Organization country representative Francis Casola, said in a statement, these 600 COVAX VCs are part of an initial tranche of deliveries. So they're going to dose you up. They added the shots paid for by the scheme and produced by the Serum Initiative of India, because these come from India, will represent part of the first wave of CVVAX headed to several low and middle income countries. And why they're low and middle income? Because Edom stay with his foot in your neck. The rollout in Ghana is a milestone for the initiative that is trying to narrow a politically sensitive gap between the millions of people being vaccinated in wealthier countries and the comparatively few who have received shots in less developed parts of the world. The scheme aims to deliver a total of 2.3 billion, there's that figure, doses by the end of the year, including 1.8 billion to poorer countries at no cost to their governments. Although it hopes to cover up to 20% of countries' populations, it will not be sufficient for nations to reach herd immunity and effectively contain the virus. Now, the African Union AU has been trying to help its 55 member states buy more doses and a push to immunize 60% of the continent's 1.3 billion people over 3 years. So 3 years, you know we're in it for the long term. Last week, its VC team said 270 million doses of AstraZeneca, Pfizer, and Johnson & Johnson vaccines secured for delivery this year had been taken up. China had donated small batches of its Sinopharm VC to countries including Zimbabwe and Equatorial Guinea. Russia has offered to supply 300 million doses of its Sputnik V VC to the AU scheme along with a financing package. But many countries are largely reliant on COVAX. On Tuesday, WHO Director, World Health Organization Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus urged wealthy nations to share vaccine doses with COVAX, saying the goal of equitable distribution was in jeopardy. Boris Johnson has said the UK will share the majority of its surplus CV vaccines with COVAX, but has not said how many. So this seems to be a global effort, because this man wants to build new Babel. Let's see. Let's get the scripture. And now this man says he wants to help you, but in Proverbs here it says 26:25, when you speak a fair, believe him not, for there are 7 abominations in his heart, whose hatred is covered by deceit. His wickedness shall be showed before the whole congregation. Whoso diggeth a pit shall fall therein, and he that rolleth a stone, it will return upon him. A lying tongue hateth those that are afflicted by it, and a flattering mouth worketh through it. So this man, you know, really wants to harm you, you know, but he's pretending he wants to help you. And this stuff at the end of the day is predictable. This is Proverbs 26:25. Sorry, when you speak of fair, believe him not, for there are 7 abominations in his heart. Now 7 represents completion, so he has a complete number of abominations in his heart. You know, he wants to probably make you infertile. He wants to compromise your immune system. He wants to lull you into a false sense of security so that he can come with something even more vile than this. He wants to make you feel like you owe him something so that when he comes, you know, you believe him. He wants to make sure that you're dependent on him medically. He wants to put you in a situation where he can exploit you at a later date. So it's just so many reasons as to why this man will say this. But you speak to most Jakes, and they're gonna believe this man. And this is the live. Thank you today, show family. Love you guys. You're back. This is the live, but there was a story. There was a story on this, and because it's live, I'm not able to pinpoint the story. But they're basically they're using Eve once again to come and deal with you Negroes. And if you look in the 24th, you know,
makers and the black women who became space pioneers, now inspiring others. Here's Rahema Ellis.
Taylor Richardson is on a mission that started with a dream.
I just thought I was a girl that wanted to do space. Just my drawings.
But the 17-year-old says it's hard for some to imagine that she could. Did you ever feel like your interest in science was being pushed aside?
But there was a lot of people who looked down on me and always said I couldn't do it.
Mae Jemison will be making her first trip in space today.
But history taught her a different lesson. In 1992, Dr. Mae Jemison...
I will just stop it there. Basically, what they're doing is they're using Eve, you know, as a Trojan horse once again. As it says here in Mark 3:25, no man can enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he will first bind the strong man, and he will spoil his house. And how is he going to bind you? By, you know, basically what the serpent did, by using your woman against you. He's going to allow your woman to bind you. And I'm going to get into the story in Judges where, you know, they wanted to get Samson, but they couldn't deal with Samson. So what they did is they used his women to get him. And this is the history of the serpent repeating itself over and over again. So we have to be wise as serpents, you know, to understand that this man, you know, he's going by the play-by-play. You know, the Lord makes him think he's real slick, but at the same time, the Lord's hand, you know, on the right hand side lets you know everything that he's doing on the left hand side. You know, because at the end of the day, when you look into the balance of everything, you know, the Lord is more righteous than he is wicked. Because, you know, you can't have life in a wicked society. If you don't believe that, you can look around you and you can see that oceans, you know, being littered and being filthy. You know, society, family structure is completely broken, because at the end of the day, life doesn't thrive in wickedness. You know, life thrives in righteousness. Verily I say unto you, verse 28, all sins shall be forgiven unto the sons of men, and blasphemies wherewith soever they shall blaspheme. But he that shall blaspheme against the Holy Ghost have never forgiveness, but is in danger of eternal damnation, because they said he have an unclean spirit. Now this is Esau. He's eternally damned. and the only way he can really get out of the situation is by damning you with him. And if you look here, which goes into, you know, binding up a strong man, you know, that they stay killing Jake.
No charges against 7 police officers involved in the death of Daniel Prude in Rochester, New York, as the state attorney general calls for reforms to make police who use deadly force more accountable. Here's Ron Allen.
Tonight, a New York State grand jury deciding not to file charges against 7
Oh man, what's going on?
Daniel Prude last March. The incident seen on police body camera footage obtained and released months later by Prude's family shows him naked, shouting, and being restrained with handcuffs, his head covered with a hood. Officers say he was spitting and saying he had COVID-19. New York's Attorney General Letitia James saying the officers should have...
Now the elder Manatas at bar already went into this, but basically, you know, it goes into the scriptures. You know, no man can enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods except he will bind the strong man. See, they needed, you know, they needed like several police officers to deal with one Jake, because this man is a coward. And if you go into Judges chapter 16, starting at verse 4, and it came to pass that he loved a woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah, and the lords of the Philistines came up unto her and said unto her, entice him and see wherein his great strength lieth, and by what means we may prevail against him, that we may bind him to afflict him, and we will give thee one of us 1,100 pieces of silver. And Delilah said to Samson, tell me, I pray thee, wherein thy great strength lieth, and wherewith thou mightest be bound to afflict thee. And Samson said unto her, if they bind me with 7 whips that were never dried, then I shall be weak and be as another man. Now I'm gonna, you know, skip around here. Now she had men lying in wait, abiding with her in the chamber, and she said unto him, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson, and he breaketh the whips as a thread of tow is broken when it toucheth the fire, so his strength was not known. So we didn't tell her, you know. And she said again, behold, thou hast mocked me and told me lies. Now tell me, I pray thee, wherewith thou mightest be bound. And again, you know, he told her, give me new ropes that were occupied, and I shall be weak and be as another man. Delilah took new ropes and bound him therewith, and said unto him, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And there were liers in wait abiding in the chamber, and he brake them from off his arms like a thread. Now at this point he should have realized what she was on. So, you know, we can't be in the same spirit as Samson, you know. And I'm not trying to say that disrespectfully. You have to know that a nigger woman is being used against you. Now eventually, it says here, you get to chapter 16, and it came to pass when she pressed him daily with her words and urged him so that his soul was vexed unto death, that he told her all his heart and said unto her, there have not come a razor upon my head, for I have been a Nazarite unto Yahweh from my mother's womb. If I be shaven, and my strength will go from me, and I shall become weak and be like any other man. And she used that against him, and we all know, you know, what really ended there. You know, he ended up falling. And this is 1 Timothy 2:14. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression. So, you know, it's pretty abundant and obvious from how this man moves and behaves, you know, that
serves the black community in Chicago and is scheduled to close even with...
I'm not believing them because for one, everything's about...
I had this week.
I'm not believing them because for one, everything's about money, you know. I feel like the most disadvantaged folks will be left behind, you know. I mean, and who say would they give us the full-fledged vaccine? They might give us a generic version of the vaccine.
The African community, we're just not trusting because we do feel like we're the first person that they want to test it on, and we're being experimented on.
You know, I want to point out that what Antoine Miller said there is...
Now, the man is in his right mind, and to be fair, so was Eve, but they're using another Eve, or she might be a tear, but they're using her to come at you.
Not true. There is no generic of this vaccine, and generic drugs are just as effective as brand name drugs when they are...
Okay, then you take the generic drugs then. And this is Judges. I'm going to finish off here. This is Judges 14:15. And it came to pass on the 7th day that they said unto Samson's wife, his first wife, entice thy husband, that he may declare unto us the riddle. Because he made a riddle, you know, with the people of the land were ruling over Israel. You know, and if they got the riddle right, he would take 30 changes of clothes, etc. Lest we burn thee and thy father's house with fire. Have ye called us to take that we have? Is it not so? And Samson's wife wept before him and said, Thou dost but hate me, and lovest me not. You know, thou hast put forth a riddle unto the children of my people, and has not told it to me. And he told it unto her, behold, I have not told it to my father nor my mother, and how shall I tell it to thee? And he ended up telling it to her. So this is, you know, I'll go and end it there. All praises to the Most High.